When our garden table and chairs fell apart, it took me 3 months to find out what the right garden furniture to replace it with was. But you don't have to spend 3 months because I've pulled together everything I discovered in this video. It's Alexandra here from the Middlesized Garden YouTube channel and blog. And there are basically 6 choices when it comes to choosing garden furniture. I know that we all live in different parts of the world, so there'll be different brands, but actually there's quite a commonality in terms of themes sold all around the world. I also think it's helpful to look at garden furniture styles and to decide what you don't want. So you might see a few things in this video and you think, oh, definitely not for me. And I think that's a great help when choosing as well. So the 6 styles are wood, rattan, plastic, metal, stone and stone composites, and garden furniture that you build yourself, either built in or DIY. So when's the best time to buy garden furniture? Well, if you want to get a bargain, the end of the summer is a good time, but the choice will be much less. I was actually looking at the end of the summer and I did get about 20% off the garden table I eventually bought. But I noticed that an awful lot of styles had out of stock on them, and there was definitely less choice. So if you want maximum choice, then spring is probably the best time. Of course, there are New Year sales and Black Friday sales and things like that, but those, I think, are less likely to have genuine bargains than the end of the summer sales. So, what garden furniture can live outside? If it's called garden furniture, it will be able to be put outside, but some garden furniture is much more long-lasting than others. The most long-lasting are probably the plastic, the metal and the built-in, because the built-in is made of hard landscaping materials. And the least long-lasting will be wood or rattan. However, you can make your garden furniture last a lot longer by taking it inside in the winter if you've got storage, which we haven't, or you can cover it up with a all-weather cover that will protect it from most of the elements. Personally, I decided not to do that because I really like to look out at my garden from the house and to see chairs and tables rather than lumps. And also I like to come out here on a winter's day and sit here with a cup of coffee and enjoy the sun. But that's a very personal choice. You may prefer to keep your garden furniture looking good for longer. Style is the next thing, and it often helps to have your garden style reflect the style of your house. We've got a video called How to Link Your House and Garden, and I'll put that in the description below, but one of the main points it makes is that if you can take colours or themes through from the house to the garden, you get a very cohesive feel, and in a small space that particularly works well. For example, if you have pale stone floors in your kitchen, then you might have a pale wood decking outside. So looking at the styles, one of the ones I'm seeing a lot more of at the moment is mid-century modern. Very much a sort of 1960s, 1970s, 1980s type style, and we're seeing a lot more of it, I think, in interior furniture as well. Mid-century modern tends to be metal and plastic. You don't see as much of it in terms of wood. And I think it's also particularly works well in chairs, in terms of chairs, either chairs that you've got standing outside or chairs that are going around a dining table. When it comes to wood, I think this is generally considered the most traditional of the garden styles. And you can get things like Lutchens benches or curved benches. It's important if you're choosing wood that it's hardwood, because only teak and cedar and other hardwoods will survive outside. However, the logging of hardwoods is much more of a problem than the logging of softwoods. So when you're buying wood, it's worth checking that it's been logged responsibly and that there is some kind of an environmental safeguard around it. The other thing about wood is that you're going to have to maintain it a bit. I think that our wooden garden chairs and table fell apart because actually we didn't really maintain it. Well, you'll certainly have to check it every year, and you may occasionally have to repeat a protective treatment on it. Wood, certainly in terms of wooden chairs, also takes up a bit more space. So if you've got a very small patio or deck, then wooden chairs perhaps won't be the best option. Then there's contemporary garden furniture, and this can be metal, rattan, wood, or a mix of the three. If you're buying rattan, people often ask what's the difference between rattan and wicker. In fact, rattan is the material that it's made of, and wicker is a type of weave. There's two kinds of rattan. There's natural rattan, which really isn't suitable to be left outside for more than a day or so. It's best to choose if you have a conservatory and you want to whisk a chair outside just on a sunny day and then take it back at the end of the day. But if you want to leave your furniture outside, you need to have synthetic rattan, which is a polyethylene resin. Once again, the rattan, even the polyethylene resin rattan, isn't the longest lasting. It may do 5-10 years, and it will last longer if you protect it. But of course, if you've got your rattan furniture as a main feature in a garden, you don't necessarily want it covered up for 5 months a year. Then there is vintage and second-hand furniture. Vintage and second-hand garden furniture can often be a good bit cheaper, but of course it's important to check that it's still sturdy. I'd say metal is probably the best choice here, because actually metal is very long-lasting and you can keep an eye on it for rust and then repaint it if it looks as if any parts of it are rusting. You can buy vintage or second-hand furniture on all the online marketplaces such as eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and also you can buy locally in junk shops or even from friends. I bought this mid-century modern sofa and chairs which are French and made of metal and made in probably about the 1960s. These ones I'm sitting on now, I bought those from a friend of mine. But of course I had the problem that you get with vintage and second-hand furniture, which is that the cushions have probably long gone. And if the furniture is 50 or 40 years old, the standard cushions bought in the shops now really won't work with it. There's a fabulous range of outdoor cushions you can buy now, and you can leave these out overnight. You can leave them out in the summer. It is sensible to take them in and to store them in the winter, because otherwise they're likely to get a bit mouldy. But of course there were none that actually fitted this set I'm sitting on now exactly. So I bought some outdoor fabric from Designers Guild, and quite a few fabric houses now do outdoor water resistant material. And I got a local upholsterer, Emma Nuck, to make me some outdoor cushions. Of course, if you're handy, which I am not, and good at sewing, you could do this yourself and that would be much cheaper. And having cushions made or making them yourself really gives the furniture that special little extra individuality. And then there's DIY or built-in garden furniture. In what we call our tin corner, which is a pergola with a tin roof, there is a table there which my husband made out of marine ply. And it's got an all-weather paint on it. We don't think that it could sit outside in the weathers, but it's covered from the rain in that shelter. And of course the advantage of him making it himself, or you could have someone to make it, is you get it exactly the size and style that you want. And of course, because he was making it himself, it really was very cheap. It was probably the equivalent of about 40 or 50 British pounds. But if you're getting something made, obviously the labour costs add to that. In terms of built-in garden furniture, this can be a superb option for very small gardens because it makes the most of space. And also in larger gardens, people quite often use up leftover pavers and turn them into seating. I've seen quite a lot, for example, of gabions, which are wire cages filled with perhaps rubble or discarded pavers, and they can be used as a base for seating. And that, of course, is better than sending them to landfill. Or you can use pavers or wood and just build in the seating yourself. I've certainly got friends who, once they've brought a tree down, have decided to leave it there and simply cut a bench in it or use it as benches, and that's a nice natural feel for a wild garden. And when it comes to stone and stone composite, well, this is the most hard-wearing material of them all. I've got 2 stone composite garden benches which I bought from Haddonstone, and I bought one 30 years ago and I bought the other 10 years ago, and I simply wouldn't know which one was the older one because they don't wear at all. They cover with moss and lichen and things like that, but they just don't wear out. But of course they're not very flexible for things like a dining table. However, in the end we did buy a dining table with wooden legs and a stone composite top from Garden Trading. It was a bit above what we'd hoped to get on our budget, but because we bought it at the end of the season, there was a discount on it. And also we decided not to go for any kind of matching chairs. We actually bought IKEA Lacco chairs, which are metal and plastic, very hard wearing and very inexpensive, and I like them. Because of course this raises the issue of, do you get all your garden furniture to match and to match your style, or do you mix things up? And I think both can work really well. We have over the years mixed things up, but often you can use something like paint to pull that together. For example, we bought some 4 French garden chairs, metal, from a dépôt vente, which is a second-hand warehouse in France, and brought them back to England. And then about 5 years later, I bought some similar but not the same metal garden chairs from a contemporary garden centre. And the 2 chairs are similar-ish, but we've painted them the same colour, so they do now look like a set. Garden furniture is of course only one element of garden style, so I've put together a fine drawing garden style playlist. So do check that out when you're deciding about garden furniture or indeed any other kind of design elements in your garden. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.